Hi guys, I just thought I'd show you a quick video of how I'm going to be making my new gutter gold sluice. Anybody who's seen my video before might have seen the previous one that I'd made, which was just basically a piece of guttering, straight chute, around about a metre long, well just short of a metre, but it had really fine ribbed rubber matting going all the way along. It was doing an okay job, but it was just trapping too many really small stones within the ribbing. It's just too fine, and I couldn't really find anything else that was of reasonable price. So I thought I'd try and make a totally different design. I tried online, seeing if anybody had any offcuts, and thankfully one of the users on the UK GPA forum site managed to send me out a few offcuts of some of the bits that he's used after he made his sluice. Thankfully it's just enough to actually pretty much do exactly the design that I was thinking of in my head anyway. So there's a mixture of the Razorback and I think it's the Scrubber as well matting. There's also the high-low rubber matting and a bit of the Vortex matting. I've already cut that one down. So I'm going to cut a couple of these bits just to make sure that they actually fit. I went down to a local steel fabricators just to see if they had any offcuts that they would be able to bend in shape and cut just to the design I actually wanted, and they've done a good job on that. That's the piece of aluminium that I had made. That's exactly a metre long. It's only 5 inches wide. Some people might think that's a bit too narrow, but the purpose of this sluice is to be running in really narrow streams where you just can't generally get a normal sluice setup. In any normal river setup, that's going to be my normal go-to sluice. That's the Super Sluice. That's made by Goldpanner from the UK GPA forum. But wherever there's any narrow, bendy streams, anything like that, really thin streams, you just know where you'd be able to get set up using that sluice. The flare's just too wide. Even the body of the sluice wouldn't fit in some of the streams that I've wanted to work in the past. So that's why I've came up with the 5-inch sluice. Should fit just nicely into the streams that I'm thinking of working. There shouldn't be any issues with it. On the sides, I've actually had the fabricators taper the sides. Don't know if I didn't quite make it out there or not, but I'll get a better picture of it when it's actually made up. But the smaller end of the sides goes from 3.5 inch and it works all the way along to 4.5 inch, and that's just to help accommodate for the drop of the sluice when it's in the river. For the gluing, I've been on the Goldhog website. They do recommend the use of Loctite, so that's the stuff that I've got with there. Powerflex, rubber particles in it as well, so hopefully that should help glue it. I've already cleaned the aluminium down, and then I've also got some of that to run along the full length of the sluice. It's waterproof as well, so a combination of the two, and hopefully none of these mats are going to be going anywhere. I'm designing it so it's going to be a tip and pour sluice to clean out rather than have to remove the mats and replace them every time. You should just be able to tip it into a bucket, splash water down the side at an angle, and the gold should just run straight down the side, straight into the bucket. So I'll start knocking all this together. I'll pick the video up after I've got everything cut to size and started gluing, and we'll see what it looks like at the end. Probably just about halfway through, just over now. I managed to cut everything down to shape. Thankfully the size of the offcuts that I was supplied was pretty much just enough to cut everything down in half. So I managed to get 2 runs of each of the different types of the Goldhog mats, one of the high-low, and I managed to cut the Vortex matting in half as well. So that'll be about a foot's worth of run of Vortex, 6 inches of high-low, and then there'll be over 2 foot of Goldhog after I've finished putting the last bits on. Just got the bottom of the run to do there, but as you can see it's coming together nicely. So we'll see how it looks when it's all finished. Well, there's the finished sluice. I've brought it back in just to let all of the adhesive grab set. It takes 24 hours to cure and set, so I've brought it in just to make it nice and warm for it to make sure it sets properly, make sure there's going to be no slippage on the mats or anything like that. There you can also see the tapering of the sides. That's the front side down there. That's 3.5 inches wide, high, and as the sluice goes along, to accommodate for the drop into the water, it actually raises 1 inch towards the end. So the front half is 3.5 inches and the rear is actually 4.5 inches. So that means that if the sluice has like 2 inches of drop, you're still going to have 2.5 inches above the waterline rather than just 1.5 inch if it was just 3.5 all the way along. The Loctite glue that I use I probably wouldn't recommend, because that was used up probably within 20 seconds or so, something like that. And there's the actual finished article. So running along the length of the sluice, we have 2 sections of Vortex matting. That equals a foot in length, 30 centimetres worth of Vortex matting. Then we have 6 inches or 15 centimetres worth of high-low ribbed matting. It's quite nice stuff that. You can get the full sluices made specifically just of that stuff. After that, then we have 4 runs of gold hog matting. There's 2 different types. I think it's Razorback and the River version as well. So the mats that I had, they were 10 inches in length, so I've cut those in half. That's allowed me to get 2 5-inch wide sections out of each mat, which means that's allowed me to double up the mats going down the sluice, whereas if the sluice was any wider at all, I wouldn't have been able to double up on the mats, and I would have just had 1 run per gold hog mat, and the sluice would have been considerably shorter, probably by about that much, and the rest would have just been wasted. All the offcuts would have been wasted as well. Now, when I did cut the gold hog mats in half, because they were 10 inches, I was hoping there was going to be a straight 5 inches on each mat after they were cut, but one of them was ever so slightly shorter than 10 inches, so when it was cut it did leave a gap of about, well, a millimetre, a couple of millimetre in between the sluice and the side of the mat. Now, when I realised that there was going to be the gap going along there, I went on the Gold Hog website just to see what their advice is in such situations. And they basically say just to get some duct tape or something like that, just fold it up and over, cut it to the length that's required, stick it into the gap, and then super glue behind it, and that's going to seal the gap up. So as you can see there, that's been pretty much cut down to size. That's where the gap was. That's been super glued in place, and there's just no gap there. That's super glued behind the actual tape. That's not moving or anything like that there. And along the front of it there, that's filled in the gap completely. Now the super glue, I use that grab adhesive running the full length of the sluice, so that's what you can see a little bit going along there, where it's just squeezed up from where I've pushed the 2 mats together. The grab adhesive's really good, strong, super serious stuff, so that's ran pretty much all the full length of the sluice. But just to be sure, I was going to use the Loctite that Gold Hog recommend as well. However, £4 or $6 per tube, and the tube was gone in probably about 20-30 seconds. I went down to my local Poundland store. I got a pack of their super glue, and when I checked the active ingredients on the back, it has exactly the same active ingredients as the Loctite. So basically, you're getting 24 grams of basically the same super glue that's in the Loctite, where you only get 3 grams for 4 times the price. So there's another top tip: if you need super glue, make sure you get super glue with that particular active ingredient, because that's what's in most of the Loctites as well, and you save yourself a lot of money. So after I bought that, again you can see there's a few tubes missing, because I've literally ran super glue running all the way down the side of the length, just to make sure that there were no gaps. If there were any gaps, the super glue will be filling the gaps in. So that's been ran both sides of the sluice, going all the way along. I used about 4 tubes of super glue just to make sure that all the gaps, all the seals were 100% tight. When I did cut the Vortex mat in, there was a tiniest little gap at the front, so I've just cut a little bit of rubber, put that in there. But to be honest, that's not going to make any difference, because that's where the material is going to get dumped in the first place anyway. So the material is going to be landing there, and then it's going to be working its way through the sluice down there. So yeah, that is the sluice that I managed to make. Thanks to River Fisher for the offcuts that he's managed to provide me. He's a user on the UK GPA Gold Prospecting website. And if it wasn't for him providing these mats, I would have had a totally different looking sluice. And I've really got to thank him that much, because he's provided exactly the mats that I was actually wanting. So the price of this sluice so far, to have the metal shaped bent in 2mm aluminium, cost me £10 or $15 worth, something like that. Thanks to River Fisher, the mats, he only charged me postage on those, so that was £5, $7 or $8. By the time you add the adhesives, the glues, this, that, the other, that's probably about another £5, another $7 or $8. So you're talking for £20, $30 worth. I've got the metre long, 5-inch wide, perfectly good narrow super sluice, or river sluice, with different types of matting going all the way down, which should really give a high chance of catching all the gold. So there we go. I'm going to be going out on my first trip probably in the next 4 weeks or so, something like that. So always subscribe to my channel, because I'll be making some films of the video of the sluice in action, and I'll be putting them up onto my channel as soon as I'm back from my trip there. But as you can see there, that's going to be giving me a great deal of chance to catch as much gold as I can in the stream where I can't get my normal sluice set up properly. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any comments or anything like that, feel free to leave them. I'll always get back to you. Feel free to subscribe, and always check out my channel as well for other gold prospecting and metal detecting videos. Cheers. Bye.